Mr. McGee and the Elephants by Pamela Allen. It's Grambo, in case you forgot. Underneath this apple tree lives a man called Mr. McGee. One sunny day he thought he'd try to pick the apples from up high. He stood on the table, then the chair. Up he went. He was almost there when he heard a mumbling sound and felt a shaking of the ground. Down came the table, down came the chair. Poor Mr. McGee was hanging up there. There he is, hanging up in the tree, until 3 elephants thundering by stopped. Had they heard a plaintive cry? Listen. Help! Help! They looked up then and they could see someone stuck. It was Mr. McGee. They lowered him gently to the ground. That was kind. When no broken bones could be found, all he had was an aching head, Mr. McGee sat down and said, "Thank you, elephants, for rescuing me. Would you like a cup of tea and maybe even a slice of bread with a little butter and Vegemite spread?" But while he was preparing tea, a greedy elephant was up the tree. What is it doing? Can you see? I think he's taking some apples off the tree. Mr. McGee yelled, "Get down from there!" But it pretended it didn't hear. Mr. McGee turned very pale. He strode across and pulled its tail. Whoops. The greedy elephant whipped around, grabbed Mr. McGee up off the ground and threw him away. Oh, where's he gone? Poor Mr. McGee. Gone off the page. The elephant then went back to the tree, and so of course it didn't see what had happened to Mr. McGee. But the other elephants had heard him crash, and when they looked, they saw him splash. So they weren't surprised when he came back, covered in mud and completely black. I should think he might be a bit cross. But the greedy one got an awful fright. It was sure that it was going to bite. Whatever it was an awful sight. So it ran and ran till it couldn't see the scary thing that was Mr. McGee. Run, 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 run away. Poor Mr. McGee was black and smelly. The slimy mud was thick as jelly. And so with one almighty squirt, the other 2 got rid of the dirt. Whoosh! Sprayed him with water. Now, Mr. McGee was very clean. You'd never guess where he had been. "Thank you, elephant," said Mr. McGee. "Please sit down, enjoy your tea." After they'd sat and drunk their tea and eaten the bread with Vegemite spread, Mr. McGee wished them both good night. And then watched until they were out of sight, With that he yawned and said, "It's time that I was off to bed." Good night, and that's the end of the story.